session at the end. If you have more questions at the end, we will be answering those. And please look out for the chat as well. They'll be inputting any links to things they're talking about throughout the presentation. So now go ahead, Denora. It's all yours.
Thanks, Lupe. Again, welcome everybody. My name is Denora Castro. Very soon, the name will change to Denora Medina. We do have with us advisors and the Health Sciences Pathways team. They will be, as Lupe mentioned, manning the chat. I hope that the presentation will answer the majority of your questions as we go along the way. But if you feel that maybe a question wasn't addressed, by all means, enter that into the chat. Any questions of a personal nature, I'd rather that you hold on to those and either email myself directly or one of the advisors. As you know, as a registered nursing major, you do have access to our information on your Inside BC Starfish link. And please, by all means, feel free to email us directly with any personal questions that you may have. Again, welcome, and let's go ahead and begin. So congratulations on making it this far with respect to applying to the RN program with Bakersfield College, presented by the BC Health Sciences Pathway team. Just a brief overview of the agenda. Can everybody see my agenda, by the way? Thumbs up? Yeah? Okay, I see a couple of nods. Great. So the agenda will include a review of prerequisites so that you're able, or the prerequisites required to apply to the BC traditional RN program and the RN advanced placement program. So what is a traditional RN program? That is probably the majority of you that have no prior LVN licensure. So that is students that are coming in with prerequisites that have no prior, basically that LVN license. The RN Advanced Placement Program is indeed intended for LVNs, licensed vocational nurses that are wanting to transition into the RN program. For those folks, Appendix A is not required. So they do not have to complete that latter part of the application, which is that multi-criteria selection process. Their selection is entirely based on lottery and on seat availability. We can dive in a little bit more on the Q&A if anybody has questions about that. I will briefly review the remediation requirements, and this is only if it's applicable to you. And again, I'll review that in the next slide. We do want to discuss the estimated cost of attendance and the importance of having financial stability while you're in the nursing program. Lastly, we're going to go straight into the application and go line item by line item to complete that application, including the use of the GPA calculator, how to calculate your points, and then submitting your application. You can find this all in the nursing brochure, and one of the advisors will be dropping in the link that reviews the registered nursing brochure, the overview. What needs to be submitted at the time of application? That will be the application itself and your unofficial BC transcripts and any supporting documents such as the appendix if it applies to you. No other documents are needed other than your transcripts, and they will not be reviewed. So no letters of recommendations or any type of awards that are not relevant to the application. If it's asked for, you submit it. Upper division coursework, I do have to state this, will not be reviewed by Bakersfield College as we are a lower division college. What is upper division college, you ask? College courses, you ask? Well, that's junior and senior university stat or university level courses. So if you attended a university and have a bachelor's or a master's degree, those upper division courses will not be evaluated by Bakersfield College. So if any coursework this was completed at university, let's say microbiology at CSUB, and you submitted for a review, it will not be listed. So that's something that we would have to speak about on a one-to-one basis. And you generally know what they are because they start with a 300 or 400. Okay, so the prerequisites for the RN program, this also includes the RN advanced placement. It's a little bit more in depth in the RN advanced placement, and I'll review that with you in just a minute. Are your English, your math, your chemistry is a prerequisite to your microbiology, so that's why it's listed. Not necessarily a requirement for the nursing program, but it is to complete a BC microbiology course. Your A&P or Anatomy and Physiology 1, A&P 2, and your General Microbiology. There's a whole list of math courses there. If you find your math course there, great. Most of you have completed Math 22, Math 22L, which is statistics, or Psych 5. Ironically, those are not on there because that falls under the or higher. Let's see, it should be. Well, I apologize, but it's basically intermediate algebra or higher. So
You have it right after Math B27.
thank you so much. Thank you. Highlighted in red or higher. Chemistry, again, not a requirement to apply, but of course, as you know, it was a requirement to take micro, and then your biologies. Remediation. So remediation is intended for those folks who attempted the 7th edition TEAS and did not meet the 62% requirement. So the remediation, as you can see, will require completion of active Series B 78 through F, purchase of ATI basic testing package. We now offer a pathophysiology with Bakersfield College, and it is an online course. If you find that you are not able to access that course for whatever reason, you can also go to our California Virtual Campus link and locate an online pathophysiology course for completion. This, of course, is only for those that have been instructed to complete remediation. And again, it reads here that it's recommended to meet with an advisor or counselor to discuss this. Just a little bit on improving your validation scores or improve your scores is through academic renewal or repeat fail courses. I have to emphasize, I really should have put it on there, that it's important that you meet either with myself or one of the advisors to discuss this a little bit more on how this can improve your I don't know if I want to say remediation, but your GPA. But again, we can discuss this on a one-on-one in the future. Estimated cost of attendance is broken up into 4 semesters. Your first semester will always be the most expensive semester because it includes purchasing your online information, your totes, your uniforms, all those immunizations, all those costs that come up front. That will be probably the most costly semester that you will have. If you do receive a California promise or a fee waiver, that will cover some of the costs, but the majority of the other costs are not necessarily the fee part of it. I also want to emphasize that during that first semester, although the first semester, as you know, begins, if it's in August, it's in mid-August. If you're starting in this application, it's actually the spring 24. So it would begin mid-January. Well, you're expected to start purchasing these items or these online textbooks or your totes a good month in advance. Vanessa can chime in and let me know. But if you're counting on financial aid to supplement this cost, you will have a challenging time because financial aid will not actually kick in until about a week before the semester. So it's imperative that you have these funds a couple of months, at least a couple of months before you begin the program if you're selected. It's the same for applying for a loan or any scholarships. Again, very important that you have these monies up front. The same for your financial stability. If you are working part-time or full-time, just know that the rigor of the coursework could be anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week, and that will impede into your work schedule. So unfortunately, something always has to give. It's either your work or your school. And because the need for finances, it will most likely be school that will give. And that means that if you fall below that 75% grade, then you jeopardize your standing with the program. And that's what we don't want. We want you to be, yes, academically able to do the coursework, but also financially able to support yourself while you're going through the program.
Can I
Oh.
just add a little bit on the financial aid part? So
Yes,
a lot
please.
of students, when you're this far into being ready to apply to the program, you may be approaching that 90 unit limit that financial aid has for you. So when you check your status and it says approaching max 90, something along those lines, that's when you want to double check to make sure if you truly have to appeal or if you how many more units you have left. That's when you want to reach out to one of your advisors or counselor or even financial aid. If it actually says max 90, you are at a point where you need to appeal. So once you get an official acceptance letter into the program, that's when you want to start working on that appeal. So you have all of that ready to go before the classes actually start, because that's going to affect you getting actual aid and even applying for student loans. So you want to get that going as soon as you have an official acceptance letter.
Thank you. And then preparing for the nursing program, of course, apply for financial aid if you haven't done so already. Complete, as Vanessa mentioned, your financial aid appeal once you have that letter of acceptance. There's also the Bakersfield College scholarship link to start applying for scholarships. That will not be, I believe, until the fall semester. And then there are some related allied health scholarships. The page is included there in this presentation. And it's not too late to start saving now. So come birthday, come Christmas, what are you asking? You're asking for monies, for your textbooks, for, you know, gas money, whatever that may be. It's okay to ask. Okay, I'm not going to get to the questions quite yet. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a minute. And now I'm going to get to the actual application part of it. Okay. So does everybody see the website for the nursing RN application or link? Yeah, okay, I see a couple of heads nodding. And let me move a couple of things over so it's not in my way. There we go. So again, you're all familiar for the most part. This is the RN, the Registered Nursing Associate Science. I'm sorry, this is advanced placement. Nope. No, we're in the right one. So this would give you the link to the brochure, and for additional or more detailed information on what I reviewed, this is where you want to go. Here you will also find the RN application with Appendix A. This also applies for the RN advanced placement. This is the application you're going to complete. I'm also going to be reviewing this calculator to calculate your English and math GPA and your bio GPA. If applicable, you will also complete Appendix B, Appendix C, and Appendix D. So this again is a review of the RN traditional application brochure. This is the link for the RN advanced placement. The prereqs for this program is very similar to the RN traditional. However, they have additional prerequisites that, although these communication courses are required for graduation for the RN program, these are considered course requirements for the RN advanced placement. So in addition to the prereqs of English and biologies, they're also required to have completed communication, sociology.
And this is from the
psychology.
Board of Registered Nursing. Those are their requirements.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the application. As you can see on the top left-hand corner is where you will either mail your application or drop it off in person. You can drop it off in person during regular business days and hours, and that is for the entire month of July, Monday through Thursday, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and in upstairs in MS 176. Don't push it after 5, getting at 5 o'clock, okay? So the earlier, the better throughout the day, Monday through Thursday. Let's say that you are running into a snafu. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at the calculator and see where July 31st ends this year. And July 31st ends on a Monday. So let's say that you're going to be out of town on the 31st. You can't physically make it here on the 31st. As long as you mail this and it's postmarked July 31st and it arrives after July 31st, that's fine. It's technically still an eligible application. But come August 1st, in person, it will not be received, unfortunately. And postmarked after August 1st will also not be received. So just be very careful with those timelines. Most of you are probably new applicants. If you are the new applicant, you're going to click on new applicant. If you are a prior applicant, that means that you've applied the semester before or before that. So you would want to go ahead and put prior applicant and list the dates of when you applied, whether it was this past January 2023 or July 2022. Re-entry means that at one point you were selected or in the nursing program and you are now applying for re-entry. So that's what re-entry means. For those LVNs seeking the RN advanced placement, this would be you, advanced placement. And everybody will be clicking on spring 2024. That is the application period we are doing right now. Now this is, and of course, for those new applicants or prior applicants for the RN, it will be first semester. The only exception to the rule would be the advanced placement because they have the option to also select second semester. Vanessa, can you chime in if that's a possibility for a third semester, or is it second semester only?
No, students are more than welcome to put any level that they're interested in. If you are an LVN and you are seeking for a level 3 placement, you will be expected to pass an exam just to make sure you are going to be academically eligible to just drop right into level 3. Just to make sure that you're successful in the program, because we've had students that enter and they end up it's been too long that they've been in school, or it could be different factors. They're still trying to work, so it's just not working. So we just want to make sure that you're able to do that. And just so you know, we, in our past 2 application periods of advanced placement that we have had some students test at that level. So it is possible.
Thank you. And going down again,
Can I just add one more thing?
Yes,
You're
absolutely.
On this. If you if you're wondering if you can apply to both options, traditional and advanced placement, you're more than welcome to. So if you meet the point requirements, the grade requirements, sorry, my dog's coughing. You're more than welcome to apply to both, and you would be in both pools just to up your chances. But if you get advanced placement, we would give that the priority.
Perfect. And just to reiterate, this is for the LVNs advanced placement that have the option to apply to either the advanced placement or the RN traditional, which includes completing the Appendix A of the multi-criteria selection. As we go on to the next line item, are you registered with Bakersfield College as a veteran or spouse or dependent eligible for military benefits? Yes or no? And if you click yes, you have to attach supporting documents. If you yourself are the veteran, it would be the DD-214, if applicable, and then the certificate of eligibility as well. And that will be a form that you need from admissions and records. Personal information, do not omit anything. Every line item has to be completed unless it doesn't apply to you. So student ID, 00, and so forth. your BC email address, your full name, last name, first name, middle initial, and a previous last name if you have one, your street address, date of birth. If at any point you cannot type something in, it will not let you. When you print it, go back and handwrite it legibly. And sometimes what's happened with my computer or my printer is that when I print documents, it will allow me to type it in, but when I reread it, it omitted information. So by all means, please, please, please go back and make sure that everything has been filled in. If not, just handwrite it legibly. Cell phone and alternate phone number if you would like, if it applies. Whether you're a U.S. citizen, and do you have a valid social security number or ITIN number? Have you ever enrolled in the nursing program? If yes, where and when? Have you ever taken the TEAS? Yes or no? When and what score? I think it's also important to note that if it was the 6th edition or the 7th edition. And then you have to attach your complete ATI transcripts. If you have not taken the TEAS, it is not required. So don't feel like you have to have had your ATI transcripts to apply. No, this is only if you have already taken it. Were you required to complete the BC remediation plan? If you don't know, put no, because it may be that you're not required, or that you haven't met with myself or one of the advisors to discuss this. And if yes, when did you complete this? This is typically for prior applicants that had applied and found that they were ineligible and asked to complete the remediation. So you would know if you needed a remediation plan for the most part. Have you already attained a college degree? If yes, was it an AA, a BA or higher, and then note that. You want to note all the colleges you've attended, starting with Bakersfield College. If you are a BC student, I know there may be applicants who have never attended Bakersfield College, but if you attended multiple colleges, you have to write them all. And you can attach a separate sheet of paper, doesn't necessarily have to be this one, just a separate sheet of paper outlining that information. Always read the fine print. All applicants must submit an unofficial Bakersfield College transcript along with this application. If you have completed any coursework at another college, you must request a transcript evaluation from the BC Admissions and Records Office. These courses must be reflected on your BC unofficial transcript at the time of application. Failure to report and or have transcripts evaluated will result in ineligibility to the Bakersfield College ADN program. Check the nursing website for complete program information and application periods. And then it just notes on why the importance of the Social Security and ITIN numbers. Now, although this is optional to complete, I will review this nevertheless with you. So this data is for statistical analysis only, to be used for reporting purposes by the Board of Registered Nursing. This information will not affect program consideration, but we strongly encourage and appreciate your participation in completing this, starting with gender, age, ethnicity, going on with information on whether you were in foster care, ward of the court, English as a second language, your primary language, and do you meet DACA or do you meet requirements under the DACA? Were you part of the Moja Community A-STEP program? And are you registered as a DSPS student with BC? And if so, mark all accommodations that apply. This is going to be the first line item that you need to sign. Acknowledgement. Failure to sign this application will result in ineligibility. So make sure that once you type in your date and you have it in hand, sign it. And then we're going to go now into the appendix. And again, if now that I've completed the first 2 pages of the application, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put those into the chat, or we can discuss it at the end of this presentation. Bakersfield College Associate's Degree Nursing Program, Appendix A, Multi-Criteria Point Allocation. This is no longer applicable for the RN Advanced Placement, meaning the LVNs that are applying for the RN Advanced Placement. This would be for the majority of you, the RN traditional applicant. Again, read every line item because it does detail what the maximum allotted points will be. So number 1 will discuss or give you points based on academic degrees, diplomas, or relevant certificates held by you with a maximum points of 10. So if you do have a bachelor's degree or higher, then you must include official or unofficial transcripts from a regionally accredited U.S. college or university with the degree posted. All transcripts from outside the U.S. must be evaluated by a NACES independent agency, and this will allow for 5 points. For those of you who are LVNs, licensed LVNs, you have a valid license as a paramedic or radiology technologist and hold a current license, you will need to include transcripts for this information. And as of January 21, you have to have proof of working in this field within the last 5 years. So this is the maximum points allowed, which are 10 points. And of course, this is for those that have BC programs, and then it's the identical thing, but this is for non-BC programs. So maybe you completed your LVN license with BC, it's valid, you have all the information, you get 10 points. Or maybe you went to one of a neighboring school and completed your LVN. Same requirements, but this would generate 8 points. We also have the ability to grant you points if you are a certified or licensed healthcare worker, a nursing assistant, EMT, or phlebotomist through either Bakersfield College or AUMT as a phlebotomist. Again, same requirements apply here, 6 points. For non-BC programs, same requirements, but go down to 4 points. And then for prior military medical training, there are 5 points allotted, and this would include the requirement to submit the DD-214 with military transcripts reflecting medical training completed. So let's say, for instance, that you are a CNA or nursing assistant, completed at BC, you have 6 points, and you have a bachelor's degree with 5 points. Although you do have 11 points here, the maximum points allotted are 10. So it would be 5 and 5. So you can have a combination, just again, with the maximum of 10 points. So for number 2, the grade point average, this is where we're going to use that GPA calculator. The first one is the biological sciences. I do not have a transcript with student information on biological sciences to give you. So I'm just going to give you some imaginary, not names, but information. So these are the sciences that we're looking at. We're going to be looking at Bio 32, 33, and 16. Most institutions, the unit amount for Bio 32 is 4 units. I believe Taft has 5. 4 units, and for BC, it's a 5 unit. So if in Bio 32 you received, and we have, although there's an A plus or minus option, most institutions, at least with Bakersfield, Taft, Porterville, and Saracoso, they do a whole letter, so no plus or minuses. So let's say that Bio 32 was a B, 33 an A, and Bio 16 a B. Well, when we calculate it generates, and I have to write this down, a 3.30. And you go back to your application and you read that it reads, you're going to get your combined GPA. And they give an example of a 2.5 or higher, because the minimum GPA is a 2.5. My apologies. You have to have a minimum GPA of a 2.5 or higher in your biologies in order to be eligible. Anything that falls below a 2.5 in your biologies, unfortunately, is rendered ineligible. But in this case, it was a 3.3. And then we're going to multiply that by 10. And for this fictitious student, they would receive 33 out of 40 points. And now we're going to calculate the math and the English. So you would take your math, let's say, for instance, that you completed an intermediate algebra, and I'm going to go back here and just redo this. I don't know. Oh, here, clear. So the only English that's considered is English 1A, English 1AL, or EMLS B1A. So if you completed any one of those English courses, that's all you need. So most of these are 3 units, but I believe EMLS is a 4 and English 1AL is a 3.5. But for the sake of this presentation, we're going to say English 1A, as that is what most of you probably have completed. And let's say that you had completed an older math, maybe math B70, which is intermediate, and you wanted to complete that additional statistics course, either math 22, math 22L, or Psych 5. And again, math 22 and Psych 5 are 4 units. Math 22L are 4.5. I do believe that when I see applications, I mainly see Psych 5. So that's what I'm going to write in, is a 4 units. And I believe math 70 was a 5-unit course. So in this case, student completed and received a B, and maybe did exceptionally well and received an A. So we calculate, and the GPA is a 3.33. And based on the instructions on the application, it reads, now this one, a student can pass with all C's and still be considered eligible because that's the minimum GPA allowed. But in this case, student had a 3.3. And they are asking us to then multiply it by 2.5. And I'm using another calculator. I'm sure you can use your computer calculator, but I like handheld calculators. So I'm calculating that here on the side. And 3.3 times 2.5 renders an 8.25. Now I am going to ask Vanessa, do we round up to a 3 or is it a 2?
We do the 2.5.
2.5?
Yeah, if that's what it calculated.
Okay, so this is what it calculates to, an 8.25. And if at any point you repeated, meaning you received a D, a C minus, a D, F, incomplete, ungrade, withdrawal, or FW from any of the English 1A courses or biology courses, 1 repeat is -5. 2 repeats, -10, and unfortunately, 3 repeats is considered ineligible. If you find on your transcripts that you do indeed have 3 repeats, then you can, in cases of extenuating circumstances, Applicants may choose to appeal their ineligible status for 3 or more repeats. A written statement of 300 words or less is required. Be sure to address each course repeat. Not all appeals are granted. Approved appeals will still have a -10 deduction. Okay. So this is how we are, I think, let's just put 6 here, 33, and 8.25 out of the total 10 awarded. No repeats in my fictitious student here. And now we go to number 3. This is for healthcare worker and or volunteer experience with the maximum point of 8. So the more work that you have or volunteer work that you have completed, the higher amount of units. So if you have documented proof, a letter from a current or former employer organization verifying volunteer service, the letter must be on an organization's letterhead with an original signature, the applicant's name, start date, end date, number of hours worked or volunteered, including job title, department, examples of duties that pertain to that include patient interaction must be included. So this is the same thing over greater than or equal to 300 to 499, you receive 2.5 points. 500 to 999, 5 points. Over 1,000 hours, 8 points, but this does have to be within the last 2 years. So let's say my student had the 600 hours, therefore eligible for 5 points. And now we come to life experiences or special circumstances with a maximum of 2.5 points. Points will only be awarded for one category. I have found that multiple students are eligible for 2 or 3 areas, but in this case, go ahead and choose one and then submit your document for that. Whether it's a student that is stating a disability, and then of course the required documents are here. Family income, first generation to attend. This is the first place where you see an appendix is required. And I'll open up that appendix as an example. Need to work, either pay stubs, W-2s, or a letter from an employer, or you can also include a personal statement in Appendix C. Disadvantaged social or educational environment, difficult personal situation or circumstances, and refugee status. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at Appendix B for this first generation to attend college. So Appendix B. It reads, it's a fillable document, first generation to attend college, and it reads, briefly explain your situation or circumstances, basically stating that you are indeed a first generation student to attend college, your student ID, your signature. Now, if you are choosing this for a difficult family or personal or family situation, then you need to explain it here and then include this one, okay? And then back to our application. So let's say that we did that first generation. We have our Appendix B set aside because we're going to submit this as well. And then we go into the number 5 special populations group, again, with a maximum of 5 points. If you find that you meet 2 or 3 of these requirements, again, choose one and attach the supporting document. Whether it was a participation in the Emoja Community A-Step program, your verified former foster youth, or Native American status. And then number 6, this again pertains to those veteran status from active service in the U.S. Armed Forces. And this can be the actual veteran or eligible spouse or dependent. But again, if you documented that, when you checked off veteran status, that same form that you used, you can then receive your 10 points here. And for those, okay, we continue on to number 7. Number 7 is proficiency or advanced level coursework in languages other than English with a maximum of 2.5 points. I know there are some of you that may speak more than 2 languages, whether a third or a fourth. We really just want that second language. And what does that entail? Well, basically, it would mean that you have to show proof through Appendix D. Let's see, refer to language proficiency verification form, Appendix D. Coursework does not equate to proficiency. Applicant must have the ability to speak and interpret in a language at a conversational level, as well as be able to translate during a medical emergency. The person verifying language eligibility may not be a family member or friend. Applicants claiming proficiency may be asked to verify this through assessment testing at Bakersfield College. So if at one point you did obtain that bilingual proficiency certification, that would be accepted as proof, and you can attach a copy. Please note, at any time it is uncovered that the applicant is not able to speak the proclaimed language during the course of the program, the student will be dismissed from the program. And this is just an example of the languages that are identified by the CCCC, or California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office, other than English, including but not limited to these stated. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at Appendix D and see what that entails. So we go here to Appendix D. It starts with your name, student ID. Again, this was already stated earlier, and these are your instructions. You need proof of language proficiency, must be provided by either you, the applicant, or one of the following. So you can either A, submit transcripts showing completion of 3 years of high school in same language with a C or better, or 2 years in college through the intermediate level. Not 2 semesters, 2 years. Or you can submit your AP or SAT subject scores in that language, or submit this form that's right below us, which is the language proficiency verification form, completed by either a professor, clergy, or a supervisor. Now, the person completing this proficiency certification, which is this one right below here, must be proficient in the identified language as well, and have known the applicant and observed his or her language skills in the past year, and not be a close family friend or relative. So you're going to state that language that you're proficient in, and then you're going to complete this information. And then that person that's verifying your proficiency will then complete the rest, and they will sign and date. Okay. So let's say that you do have that language proficiency, and that concludes the points for first-time applicants. So if I go back and total the points, I'll discuss 8 in just a minute. If I go back and total our points for my fictitious student, we have 6, 33, 8.25, 5, 2.5, 2.5, and we are asked to enter the total amount here. So I have 57.25. Now, what's number 8? Well, this only applies for prior eligible students that were not selected. And students may only achieve a maximum of 10 points. So let's say, for instance, that you did apply last January of 2023. You were eligible, but were not selected. And you have since completed Nursing 99, Medical Terminology, and that stats course. Well, then your score would go from 57.25 to 63.25. Again, only for prior eligible students. Let's say that you applied last January, but were ineligible. That is not considered a prior eligible. So this would still be considered your first eligible application, if indeed you would be eligible. Okay, and then we're going to leave this for office use only. Even if you've completed your ATITs, we're going to leave this for office use only. We continue on to, the last page, and again, your information, your student ID. Which program are you applying for? Registered Nursing. If you are doing the advanced placement, then you know advanced placement. And you are applying for spring of 24. Agree, disagree? I'm going to assume you're all going to agree to authorize to release information form. Read your statement, date, and do not forget to sign, because again, this is required for review of your application. Okay. Now looking at my agenda. I already, the last part of the agenda was submitting the application. I believe I've already reviewed that. Submission is mailed to Bakersfield College Nursing Department or dropped off in person through the month of July. July ends on a Monday, so that would be the last day you can submit your application. What happens afterwards? Well, from the time that the application is submitted, July 31st, the nursing department will review every applicant in that time frame, and they will then provide a status 8 to 10 weeks after the last day of application. So looking at my calendar here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it would be about September 22nd to about October 6th when you will either be receiving, you'll be receiving an email, is my understanding. You'll be receiving an email on your application status, whether you were ineligible, whether you were selected, or whether you were eligible but not selected. And your information, your email will contain detailed information on your status. It's just a lot to go over right now. But when that time comes, you're more than welcome to contact us, but it really does give you detailed information on the findings of your application. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a minute. And that concludes the presentation for the Bakersfield College Nursing application workshop. And we're going to go ahead and open this up for a Q&A. If you feel that your question was not answered during the presentation, feel free to drop in those questions, and either an advisor or myself will start answering those, or we can just go ahead and discuss those with the advisor posing the question, so that either myself or Vanessa can answer those questions. If you feel that you've gotten the information that you needed through the presentation and you're good to go, Again, the workshop concludes right now, so you're welcome to log off. Otherwise, stay on and we'll be answering questions in the next few minutes or so. Thank you so much for attending, and have a great rest of your summer. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording, Lupe.